The next thing we're going to do is we're going to see the details of one of these APIs. Okay. And the API that I would like to inspect will be that acmeairline.com. And of course, because we have selected the group earlier on, the MuleSoft group, as you can see right here, this is the group we have selected, it's not visible. So we're going to go back to the groups and we're going to select root, and we're going to get to see the acmeairline.com. And of course, the look and feel changes yet again because we're back to all APIs. Okay. We're going to select the Acme airline.com post flights API, and this is going to open a drawer window. We've seen it earlier on, and you're going to get to see details about this API. Okay, you're going to get a note that indicates that API, the learning period, has yet to conclude, is not done yet. Okay, you will be given information with respect to where your learning is at. All right, which one is satisfied, which one is not, and so on. The next thing you will be given is pretty much information about the API, information that you see on the table. For example, the different incidents that are triggered by this API, different findings, and so on. Okay. Uh, Whether it's internet facing, that means whether your API can be accessed with either HTTP or HTTPS. If you see HTTP, that means only HTTP only the HTTP can be accessed with the HTTP protocol. If it's internet accessed, and you may be wondering what's the difference between the two. So internet facing is if the no-name platform is able to access your API, right? Send requests to their API. Actually, it's not the no-name platform. It's a service external to the no-name platform, but managed by no-name security. Okay, it's a separate instance running somewhere in the cloud, and we're trying to send requests. If we're getting something that is reasonable, like 400 or 404 or something like this, that means the server is accessible, right? So that's what this indicates. The next thing is internet access. That means we statically check the request and the response. And if we see IPs or information in that request that indicate that the request is coming from the internet, then this will be true. Okay. You will see the sources, you will see the authentication like before, the type of the API RESTful, how many consumer it has. It could be from few to hundreds to thousands and so on. The different data types, the tags. You can add tags at this level, so you do not have to do it on mass. You can go inside the details and you can add tags. You can add owners and so on. Okay, you can do it from here. The purpose. Remember, this is the large language models that I talked about earlier on. Okay, and it's powered, so you need to have access to the internet. So if I select generate, I'm not so sure about access to the internet. But as soon as I select generate, then based upon the request and the responses, the metadata of this API, I will see what's the purpose, or the purpose of this API will be generated in an English prose. This API allows you to create a new flight. The request body must contain the price of the flight. That's what it is. Pretty much you're purchasing a flight, so you need the price, right? So that's what it does. And of course, you can identify whether this is accurate or not, and so on. The risk factor, we talked about it already. By the way, every time you see a preview tag, that means this feature is new and it's in public preview. Public preview, okay? I don't want to call it beta because it's way past beta, but it's still fine-tuned. There you go. It's still fine-tuned. Okay. The number of different incidents that have been triggered by this specific API, these are quite a few if you ask me. The different findings that relate to this API, and you're going to get to see some API metrics, some graphs, requests per hour, this week, last week, right? Different errors and so on. And this is traffic for the last 12 months. And of course, it's traffic for a day. That's why the graph doesn't render. Okay. If you see this graph, I don't know, next week or 2 weeks from now, you're probably going to see nothing on those graphs as well, like you see for the errors. Okay, because well, enough time has gone by, so these graphs don't show anything. But this is a good indication to see how busy your APIs are. Now, very important, the no-name platform, based upon the traffic it does, it builds the corresponding OpenAPI specification for that traffic. And this is exactly what you see at this level, right? You get to see that this is the post light, it has request, it has headers, it's the authorization header, the content length, all the different headers, the request body with the price, the responses, and so on, right? So it captured all that information. And there's two views, the lean view and the full view. The full view is the OpenAPI specification, right? From scratch. That's what you see right here. The lean view is the more human readable because it doesn't have all the extra information that the OpenAPI specification requires, but it's easier to view. Okay. The other thing I would like to mention is the link at the very top. Okay. You can copy the link. You can provide it to one of your colleagues that has access to the no-name platform, and they can easily navigate to this specific API. Yet again, you can add comments. Again, you can do comments on mass. I'll do the comment within here. If you find something interesting about an API, some information on why this API is used, and so on, come in here and type it in. Something interesting. It's going to help you for the future. It's going to help your colleagues in the future, right? And I'm going to clear. I'm going to submit. Here it is. Okay. And you're going to see how many comments have been added for this API. API samples for this one. API samples are not yet collected because we're still learning the API. View changes. We're going to go under the changes pages in a second, and I'm going to show you what the view changes means, right? Okay. Now, before we go to the view changes and conclude this section, what I would like to do is select one of the other APIs. I don't know, maybe login. Yep. This one learning has completed, so now we have API samples. So here they are. Right. So we have collected 5 successful requests, and we come in here and we can see the different requests and the different responses for the corresponding API samples that we have collected. This is normal traffic collected so that we can go ahead and we can inspect what normal looks like. And you would like to do something like this, especially in the presence of incidents, abnormal API usage. Okay, you have the normal, you compare with the abnormal, and you see what differs. Okay, it's all organized. You can see all the details. If you want to see just the headers, click headers. If you have parameters, you can click parameters, cookies, authentication mechanism off. If you had a request body, provide the request body, and so on. Okay, responses, same thing. Headers, the headers, cookies, body, and here you get the body. Okay, so you don't want to watch everything, that's okay. Filter it, so you have an easier way to visualize it. Pretty neat stuff if you ask me. Okay. Right. And with this, my good people, we have concluded the APIs page. Right. With this, we have concluded the APIs page, section end. I'll see you in the next one while we discuss the change.